Hello, my lovely. Welcome to season 3, episode 14 of the Prosperous Yogini podcast. Now, before I dive into today's podcast, I would like to share with you how you can support me more. You will notice there are a few ads on my podcast now, so it is a monetized podcast. I'm extremely proud of that fact. The more people that listen to my podcast, the more money I will make in ad revenue. So please subscribe, leave a comment, leave a review, and tell your friends. I like to say these days that season 1 is for the yoga teachers, season 2 and beyond is for all of us looking to do what lights us up and make money. Then if you're like, Amy, I love the podcast, but I'd like to hear you a little bit more frequently, I get it. My voice is here to activate you into action. You can sign up to my Substack, Energy, Mindset, Money and More for £4.40 a month, the cost of a takeaway coffee, for weekly audios and videos. And then if you would like to work with me as a business strategist and business mentor, I have some one-to-one programs and inquire directly in terms of capacity there. Or watch out, keep a lookout for when the doors are next open to my 12-month coaching program, the Momentum Frequency. I also have a few smaller digital courses. And if you're like, oh, Amy, what about the mastermind? Yes, my Your Purpose Mastermind, the doors to that will open again towards the end of the autumn 2026 for the next cohort starting in 2027. So that is a long way off. Yeah, absolutely should have come in this time round, but you can add your name to the wait list and do go and have a look at my one-to-one offers, because my mastermind are my one-to-one clients. I just tend to group those mastermind people together and work with them as a group as well, and have lovely business retreat days. Then if you are looking for high quality trusted yoga teacher training, you can go and check me out at Amy Yoga and look at, in particular, my yin and restorative training courses are particularly good for yoga teachers, body workers and coaches. I've got loads of life coaches, breathwork coaches, massage therapists right now taking the yin and restorative courses and adding that into the offers that they already have. Okay, my darling, shall we get on? So it is a long title, but it is the right title. Surprising Business Lessons from Learning to Lift Weights. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it's the right title. But no, it's not catchy. It's probably not attention grabbing. It's probably rubbish for search engine optimization, but this is what I want to talk to you guys about today. You have been loving, thank you for all the encouragement and positive feedback, by the way. You have been loving my journey that I really am. I feel like I'm in the depths of it right now, where I am tackling head on. I feel that is the best way to describe it. Tackling head on my peri-menopausal weight gain and ongoing issues with a frozen shoulder. If you are not up to speed with this story, I'm 47. I'm 100% in the depths of the perimenopausal stages of life. I have actually been on HRT now for nearly 3 years. And I definitely will say in the last couple of years, it feels like it's really ramped up. I'm kind of hoping this is the depths of it, but we shall see. But what I have definitely experienced in the last couple of years is weight gain, significant weight gain, I'd like to say, to the point where, like, you know, weight is quite a toxic issue to discuss, isn't it? A body image, and I don't want to go down that route because I don't feel qualified to talk about that at all. But what I can say from my own personal perspective is it isn't actually a visual, although of course the ego attaches itself to the visual look of a body and what we might have as, like, in our minds as a healthy weight. But for me, it was, I had got myself to a point where it didn't feel, and you know what I like to say, guys, the feeling is the secret. It just didn't feel like I was in my body anymore. I'd gained that much weight, and that weight gain was also impacting what I really love to do, which was surfing and move my body. It was getting in the way of yoga. It was getting in the way of, not that I run, but I certainly, was definitely choosing to always walk, not run. It was just getting in the way of me. I was starting to think, I'm not going to do that because I don't feel like I physically can. right? And I've been a yoga teacher 17 years. I practice yoga for over 20 years. Like, I know what happens as we get older and as we start to consciously choose to not do certain things physically, not make certain movements. I know the long-term impact of that. I know the long-term impact of being overweight. And like, if I'm really honest with you guys, and I know the whole BMI thing is, again, another topic that I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but in terms of BMI, I actually was obese. I find that really hard to say. I am still a bit embarrassed about that, but I'm going to do this for every peri-menopausal woman out there who, you know, is in the same position, to try and normalize this conversation, to take it away from it being something that we've done wrong, you know, we've been lazy, we've not been eating healthily. Because I want to tell you now, right, I'm definitely not lazy. Enjoy physical activity. Okay. One of the things that has really spurred me into tackling this position I found myself in is because it was impacting the physical activity I want to do. And I want to say I eat healthily. I absolutely do. But if I'm honest, I was just eating too much. Cheese and nuts, who knew? Quite calorific. So and I would say, like, the weight gain, like, it's so common for a woman, you know, post the threshold of 40. I don't really like using perimenopausal, menopausal, but if I say that post the threshold of 40 stages of life, you know, weight gain is a common thing we experience. And then probably alongside this, what sealed the deal in terms of like me taking the action that is really bloody hard, can I not gloss over that as well, was in the summer of 2024. I had, like, I'm gonna say, my first episode of like a frozen shoulder, and it lasted about 2 or 3 weeks, and I put it down to like overdoing it, too much surfing. And you know what, it did get better. And then from that moment onwards, right up until the summer of 2025, so like over 12 months, I would just have episodes of it where it would just flare up. I struggled to get jumpers on. I struggled to, you know, deliver on yoga teacher training at times. I certainly struggled to do the thing I loved to do the most, which was surfing. And the summer of 2025, I imagined I'd go into the summer of 2025, and with the extra moving and being in the sea more, you know what, it would just get better. You know what, it would just go away, right? God, it's just like so hard to admit this to you guys, because you know, I'm human, by the way. I'm human. So that was definitely my thinking. It didn't go away. It actually got a lot worse because I was using it more, and it hit like August time where I just was in a lot of pain, and the stuff I really love to do, like go in the sea, swim and surf, I had to pull back from. And that was absolutely the nail in the coffin. And around a similar time, you know, it's funny how, you know, the universe, I do think, like, you know, you hit that point where the pain of staying where you are is greater than taking action, right? You know, we can push the problem, push the can down the road, for want of a better expression. But around a similar time, I bumped into like an old friend, someone I'd known for years, a similar age to me, and she was looking amazing. She'd lost about 4 stone. She was looking physically really fit, and I was like, and I knew that she'd been seeing a lady called Rhiannon and started weightlifting, so because she'd been sharing her journey on her Facebook page. So I was like, you look amazing, you know, really inspirational. And then came, you know, I just wish I could do it. You know, I eat healthily, it doesn't matter what I do, I just gain weight. And I hadn't, you know, I know this woman, which is not a close friend, but I know her. I've known her for years. Like, both live in the village, both got children. Yeah, it's that, those, you know, those relationships like that. I hadn't seen her, right? And she just turned around, and I needed to hear this. And if she listens to this podcast episode, I will always be grateful to her in this moment, because what she responded to basically my bull crap, right, my bullshit, right, was, I bet you're eating more than you realize. And I was like, in that moment I was like, oh, I was like, oh, you know, you're like, I wasn't expecting that harsh truth. You know, and it ruffled my feathers, right? My God, did I need my feathers ruffling. And I got on the dog walk and I walked home, and it was in my brain. And, you know, by the time I got home, I was like, she's probably right. As much as I don't want to hear it, she is probably right. And I got in touch with her PT, and I said, when's your next space? Oh, and can I just say, actually, can we just get sidetracked a moment on a beautiful business model? So the PT Rhiannon, I'll put the link in the bio so you can go and check her out. This is particularly for those of you that have a business model where you're working one-to-one with people, where you're really selling the transformation. Rhiannon works only one-to-one with people, with one-to-one clients. Her Instagram, Facebook feed is flooded with success stories and journeys of people on her success stories. She has built up a very strong word of mouth, strong client retention, and referral, and she's basically full. And when she goes, oh, there's a space, it gets snapped up immediately. And when I contacted her, I think like in the August, and she had one pace for September, and I was like, right, I will give you the money now, right, to secure that space. I was like, I hadn't met her. I knew about her, and I could see the results she was getting. She had one space, and I wanted it, and I was like, give you it. I contacted her, right, and give her the money. So listen, that's a lovely example of, you know, a really solid business model. Anyway, so I've been working with Rhiannon since mid-September, and what I'm recording this podcast now in mid-January, and I am, this is definitely showering in the midst of the journey, guys. I can't wait to do this podcast where I'm like perhaps out the other side of it, although there's going to be maintenance. This isn't like a one and done thing, right? There isn't an end goal here. Like, there's so many parallels between this and running your business, but I can, you know, I've lost about a stone and a half, maybe around about, you know, a stone, 4 pounds, 7 pounds, you know, way fluctuates, as I've realized, right? So, but let's just say stone and a half. My shoulder pain, it hasn't completely gone. That would be a lie, but to say it's radically different, that I felt a lot stronger surfing. I've definitely been able to go swimming, although swimming is the real trigger for it, so I do have to still be cautious of that. It's the strength just through my whole body is radically different. I definitely, one of my perimenopausal symptoms is joint pain, not just in my shoulder, in my back, in my knees. I'm happy to report joint pain has diminished rapidly. And like the key thing with the frozen shoulder is pain that was keeping me up at night on a regular basis. And I would say like that does still happen, but only ever now and again, and it gets better a lot quicker. So 100% on the road to recovery in terms of shoulder. And like, you know, that isn't an overnight thing either, and certainly on the road to reclaiming control on the weight of my body. Oh, I'm not obese anymore. Can we celebrate that on my BMI? And like, I don't have, like, it's really weird, I don't actually have a specific weight goal, but I have the goal to be in a healthy weight range. And it has absolutely nothing to do with getting back into a certain item of clothing or looking a certain way. They're just going to be ego massaging byproducts of the ultimate goal of being the best version of myself, for feeling like I am myself when I turn up to run a yoga training course, when I stand on stage to deliver, when I go out and surf, that I'm not struggling to catch waves or struggling to pop up. I'm enjoying my time in the water, you know, or even worse, which is, you know, a side note, one of the challenges I had summer 2025 was like, I actually just didn't fit into most of my wetsuits anymore. Like, Anyway, so I've got five key lessons, five surprising, and I've put the word surprising, they're not surprising, on some level, but I will say I hadn't taken into account the impact of weightlifting and focusing on my health. I had separated that, even though I tell you nothing is separate. I'd separated that out from my business. And if you go back and listen to 2026 5, last month's the most recent podcast episode, the experience of lifting weights and losing weight personally has radically impacted how I'm approaching my business this year. And we're only a couple of weeks into January, and I can already see that I'm on the right track. And I've already had moments where I'm like, oh, maybe I'll do this and maybe I'll do that, chasing that shiny object. And I've said to myself, no, that is not what I am doing this year. That is not the simple, repeatable, achievable plan that I'm going to stick to, collect a load of data, and then refine. Okay, so here we go. Number one is have achievable goals. And I think I've been working actually in my momentum frequency this month, my 12-month coaching program. By the way, guys, that next time the doors are open, come on in. It's insanely good. And it's going to become in one of the key core ways that if you love this podcast and you know you need more, is how you can work with me. Anyway, in January, we've been talking in the momentum frequency about focusing on what you don't want, focusing on what you do want, focusing on the time that you have got and how best to use it. Because I think a lot of the time we grossly overestimate what we can achieve in a certain period of time and underestimate the time it's going to take to get to a certain goal. And then because of that, we are comparing ourselves to everyone else, telling ourselves that we're failing, not doing very good, and it's not happening for us. Or I give a classic example, like social media is a great one, because it does take to put some content on social media, it's going to take a bit of time, right? And people are like, I haven't got time, and I'm like, well, how I'm guilty of this. How long are you spending scrolling on social media? An hour a day, right? Okay, so could you do half an hour creating your own content, half an hour scrolling, for example? Could you find an hour to create content a week? And the answer to that question, for most of us, whether we're full or part-time self-employed, the answer to that question should be yes, right? Because if we're going to leverage social media as our broadcast channel, and we genuinely want to have a business, then we absolutely want to grow an audience, increase our visibility. Social media is one of those ways, not the only way, and certainly is the icing on the cake in terms of the amount of people are going to see it. But for many of us, it's a great way to grow an audience and invite that audience either over to our mailing list or into our paid offers. Right. Okay. So we're often like thinking we've got to be posting twice a day, 3 times a day, posting every day, and that setting ourselves a completely unrealistic target on what our posts may look like. Spending hours editing reels in Instagram edits or CapCut so it looks a certain professional edit, spending hours down a Canva black hole, right? None of this, unless I love Canva and I'm going to spend hours on it, right? And that's not me. I'm a Canva black hole girl. I stay out of it as much as possible. What we need to do is be realistic. What is the time that I've got to dedicate to this? And the first thing when I first met Rhiannon, one of the first questions was like, realistically, how many times, other than when we meet once a week, are you going to go to the gym? And I was like, oh, well, realistically, I'm going to be lifting weights. I'll commit to lifting weights 3 times a week, so 2 more visits to the gym. And that is really realistic. If I said I'm going to go 5 times a week, that's just not realistic. And what has mattered is we've gone, this is the time And this is what we're going to do in the time, right? So achievable. Be ruthless, guys, ruthless with the time that you have got to spend working on your business, because you also spend time working in your business and you also spend time in other areas of your life. And if you're maxing out your capacity, then what about doing stuff for yourself, doing stuff with your family? Like, set something that is achievable, that is workaroundable around your life, that allows there to be weeks where you're not very well. If you've got kids, they're not very well, where they, you know, we had a storm a few weeks ago in Cornwall, and it wiped out the power, it wiped out the Wi-Fi for 24 hours. Like, annoying, right? But I was able to navigate around that because I've not maxed out my time. So really focus on what is it I want to achieve, what's the next step, what time have I got to achieve that in, and make it an achievable goal. Number 2, a simple repeatable system. Like, and I feel like I don't know why after 17 plus years of being in business, like, I feel like I've arrived at 2026 and at last I have a simple, achievable, repeatable system. I think it's probably more in relationship to my business strategist and mentor business, which, you know, I didn't start officially, let's say, until 2024, 2025, where I was really trying to figure out what it, you know, might look in terms of offer suite. There was a lot of spaghetti, say, throwing at the wall. Whereas I arrived at 2026 and I'm like, you know, these are my core offers. You hear me talk about it: my one-to-one, my mastermind, the momentum frequency, and then a few lower cost digital offers, and my Substack. Like, that's it, right? And like, I gotta stay focused. Then stick to that system. And this has been what's been interesting. So, like, I've absolutely, like, in terms of weight loss, let's go weight loss. I've had weeks where, like, it's stagnated, I haven't lost weight, or even the weight's ticked up a little bit. And it can be easy in that moment to think it's not working. But what I did was stick with it, because I'd invested in working with Rihanna. And like, I haven't listed this as one of my 5, but the real reason I'm having success is as I've invested in someone to support me. Like, and I feel like this needs to be tattooed on me somewhere. Like, when people say, like, you know, what shall I do? Da, 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 da. I'm like, listen, stop doing it alone. I hear you when you say, I can't afford, I'd love to do this, but I can't afford it. And I do hear that, but, you know, had so many, like, next times with the mastermind, and I'd love to, but I can't afford it. And get it. But actually, until you find the support, it is highly unlikely that the big changes that you want to create are not going to happen. And yeah, it's just a fact. It's just, that's not me trying to sell my business stuff to you. It's a fact. You know, if it's not me, if it's not business support you're looking for in other areas of your life, find support. So yeah, have that simple, repeatable system that you stick to, right? Because when I stick to it over the long game, one, I get to be sure it really does work. I get data. So because I stuck to it, even when my weight stalled, and then I then began to lose weight again, what did it tell me? It was that sometimes your weight stalls. It wasn't the system. How often are we, like, not giving something enough time, it's not working, and changing direction when actually we just need to stick at it a bit longer? Get the basics and the foundations right. Like, build from them. Even if it's boring. And this is hard to say, guys. This is hard to admit, right? Because we want I have often conversations with people about digital courses, semi-passive. I'll never call a digital course passive. Semi-passive income. And you know, when you say to someone, would you like to make sales in your sleep? Would you like to create a course that someone can buy and do at their own time? You know, create one, sell forever. Everyone's like, yeah. And then when I start to talk about the foundations of business, so website, mailing list, as clear strategy for mailing list growth, because there's a direct correlation between size on your mailing list and conversion rate and how many sales that you're going to make on a digital course, because ain't no one right? Just having their digital courses sell themselves. That's why it's not semi-passive. That's why it's not passive. But when I start to talk about that, many people gloss over. They're like, well, I just want to create the course and sell it. But you do, right? But you haven't got email marketing set up, or you've got email marketing set up, but you haven't got a plan for organic list growth. And then which then would allow you to increase your revenue stroke turnover, hit a point where you can also invest back into Facebook stroke Instagram ads to grow those lists and sell your digital course. It's understanding that you've got to have those basics. So I spent many weeks doing squats with my dumbbells, right, and working on squatting technique. And I've only just started recently doing deadlifts and I'm rubbish at not what barbell squat. There you go. I'm not very good at remembering the names, right? And they are the pictures that I share on social media, and everybody loves that, right? But what's missing in that story is how many weeks I've spent building strength up to be able to make those moves safely and successfully. So that in business, just do those basic business foundation things right. I've got a one-to-one client who is at the beginning of her business journey, and one of the things we did at the starting place was just relentlessly post on social media. It was it wasn't exciting in the sense of like what she wanted to do was be delivering her health coaching services, which by the way she is now, because she grew her audience. She then used that audience to build people onto her mailing list. She's published her website now. All of that was able to happen because she used the platform Instagram to get clear on her brand voice, clear on her brand values, clear on her offers, grow a small audience there, and then bring them closer over to her mailing list. And all of that information, that data she gathered on social media has enabled her to build her website, right? What she wanted to do is probably just like go straight into like website and doing one-to-one offers, but we've got to get those basic foundations right first, even if it is a bit boring. And like there are absolutely, like I talk about, let's do it like you are and make money. That is what I want you to do, right, guys? But there are going to be elements of your self-employed work that probably feel a little bit hard. What shouldn't feel hard is the actual delivery, the working with people, right? That should feel like that is coming from your heart, coming from your soul, energizing you, right? Probably filling out your tax return, checking the email inbox sometimes can feel a bit like, but these are our foundation. These are our warm-up exercises. These are our skill-based exercises. These are our techniques, so it's safe. Our alignment is safe, and then we can do more challenging stuff. Number 4, track the data. Let the data lead. You're seeing me say this a lot on social media at the moment, because so often our beautiful brain gets in the way. This didn't sell because I'm not good enough. This didn't sell because my messaging wasn't clear. This didn't sell because there's nobody in my audience willing to pay X, Y, Z for it, right? And I'm like, okay, let's go look at the data. How big is your audience? If the thing you've been selling has been selling off a landing page on a website, how many people have visited that landing page? Oh, not many people have seen that offer. You've sold 2. Based on the size of your audience, you're absolutely killing it. And what that data tells me is your messaging's right, the offer is right. Problem is your audience isn't that big. So you go back to your basics, your foundations, you grow your audience, and your sales will increase. It has nothing to do with you not being good enough. In fact, you're killing it. It's just a numbers game, which I know feels a bit frustrating, but business is a numbers game, and play the game. So if you do have it's not like, oh, okay, I've got to have a big audience to make sales. Not at all. But it's understanding realistically how many sales you're going to make of any given particular offer based on your audience size, and therefore structuring your offer suite accordingly. So like, I love the idea of a low-cost membership, right? Love it. But if you have a really small audience, it's never going to make you a lot of money. Now, it doesn't mean you shouldn't have a low-cost membership, because I do believe in multiple streams of offers, offer ecosystem that allows people to swirl around at different price points. But the low-cost membership is not the only thing you should have. If you've got a massive audience and you'd like a low-cost membership, it could be an absolutely killer way to make the vast majority of your money. And I'll go back and cite the example I know I've used before. A few years ago, I was in a low-cost membership. It was $9. Lizzie Wilcott's email marketing membership. She had like 25,000 members. Yeah, you do the maths on what she was earning a month. It was amazing example of, if you have a big audience, how powerful a low-cost membership can be. I kind of have a low-cost membership. You could say Substack is a low-cost membership. I have 15 paid users at the moment. I'm not making a lot of money, but I do know that because I'm here for the long game, that is just going to grow. And as it grows, like, it doesn't cause me any extra work, any extra delivery, but I make more money and help more people. And that leads nicely into the last point: be here for the long game. I knew this before I even started on my weight loss, weightlifting journey, that this was not going to happen overnight. In fact, I've given myself a 12-month window. Like, if by September of this year, if I am in a healthy BMI weight range and largely unbothered by my shoulder, I think I probably can't yet envisage like the shoulder completely healed, because it's been part of my life for a long time now. But if I'm within a healthy BMI and feeling fit and strong, enjoying all the things I like to do, moving with far more ease, which I'm already experiencing, if I manage to reach that by September 2026, then that would be great. So I set myself, it wasn't like I'm going to lose 4 stone in 4 months. It just wasn't that. This is slow weight gain. Well, God, no, that's what I experienced. Oh my God, slow weight loss. Because actually, that Freudian slip there, that's what I experienced. It was slow weight gain over the course of like 5 years. Like, I would say probably like COVID was quite interesting. I look back now and think that's when things started to creep up. That's when very, very slowly, a few items of clothes started to get a bit tight, stop wearing them, all of those little things. So, it's been a slow, gradual thing. So the idea that I would reverse that overnight would be ridiculous. And then I think that really helps in our business when someone comes to me and let's say they've got like a monthly turnover of 1.5, 2K, and they're like, right, I want 10K mums. I'm like, okay, I can scale your business to 10K mums, right? From where you are now, I can scale your business to 5K mums. I'm quite clever, so arbitrary, right? But what's the next step, and what realistically, based on where you are now, the systems you've got in place, the offers you've got, the audience that you've built around those offers, if the goal is to get to a certain turnover per month, right, to say that's got to happen in a certain arbitrary time frame almost goes back to my first point of, is that an achievable goal? Have you set yourself up to fail? And then you go, but such and such. And I'm like, there are always the odd overnight success. But if you look back over, look at many sort of the people sharing their journeys in terms of turnover in their business online, most of them, it's happening over a period of years, my darling, years. So be here for the long game. And I think that is what makes me most excited about my business when I think about it, because I'm like, I'm really here for the long game, and I see what other people have achieved, and I think, well, they've just been here for the long game. That's the only difference between me and them. They might actually have a slightly energetic higher set point for money, topic for a different day, but I'm working on that as always, right? So if I set myself an achievable goal, implement a simple system that I can stick to, revisit basics and those foundations if I feel things are not working as they should be, track the later, let the data lead, the good and the bad, and be non-attached to that. So if you're like, I didn't quite sell as much as I did there, didn't quite make as much as I hoped there, what does that mean? Not I failed, but what does that mean? How can I let the data lead? And then be here for the long game. And that is a 5-part system. That means you can't fail. And I'm experiencing that in my physical journey right now. And we just need to experience glimmers, moments of something being possible, something being true for us, like one sale in a new offer. You're like, this is it, it's going to work, right? We just need one little glimmer of something being possible for us. And all of a sudden, we are willing to stick to the plan. All right, my darlings, I will be back again this January with our second episode of the month. But for now, do head over to Amy Jones Mentor and check out how we can work together more closely. Or if it's yoga teacher training, do head over to amyyoga.com, and please do review, subscribe to the podcast, tell your friends. The more people you can support me for free, right? By sharing all the magic on here. All right, my darlings, I'll see you all next episode.